Today I'm going to be sketching in my Potentate square sketchbook. It contains 100% cotton hot press paper and the pages are square, 19 by 19 centimeter, and I really like the deckled edges to the paper. I'm going to be painting using my Kuretake Art Nouveau and Nuance sets. I love the pastel whimsical colours that there are in both of these sets. They complement each other beautifully and I think they go really well with the whimsical houses and shop fronts. I'm going to start with my pencil sketch already on the page. You can find the link to the free Traceable sketch reference in the description box below. This tutorial and all of its sketches and pictures of the final sketch can be found on my Patreon channel. You can join as a free member and have access to all of these references and video. I'm going to spray my paints just to activate them and wake them up. Then I think I'm going to start with pale pink. I've taken quite a lot of paint on my brush and I can see I've gone over the lines a bit. I might lift it with my tissue paper or I might leave it and just go over in ink at the end. Because of the pastel nature of these paints, it means that they've got quite a lot of white in them, which means that they lose their transparency and so the colour might go over my black lines. If you are using another set of paints that isn't quite as pastel as these and you would like to get a pastel effect, then you can take any colour from your watercolor palette and just either mix it with a bit of white if your palette does contain white, but many watercolor palettes don't have white because white makes them lose their transparency. So you could add some white gouache or white watercolor from a tube, and then that will make the color more pastel. Then I think I'm going to continue that color on the main wall of the building. Then I think I'll do the paving here. What colour? I think I'll start with flax beige. I'll just water that down a bit. And add a bit more water onto the page. And then I just don't want to run the risk of smudging anything, so I'm going to give this all an opportunity to dry. Now I think I'm going to use Horizon Blue. And I'm going to do that on every second stripe of the awning. And what I'll do is, in places, I'll skip out a bit like there. Of white, and that'll just make it look like the sun is catching the light. If you are enjoying this video so far, I would really appreciate it if you would click the like button. Doing this really helps to grow my small YouTube channel, and it also tells YouTube to share videos like this with other people like you who might enjoy it too. Also, I would love to know where in the world you are watching from. I am a South African living in Chiang Mai, Thailand, and I have been here for a number of years now. I would love to know where you are from. Let me know in the comments box below. Also, give me feedback on my videos, what you're enjoying and what you would like to see more of. I would love to hear from you. I'm going to use the same color blue on the paneling Then I think I just want to get black for the blackboard, and there isn't any in this set. I could use possibly blue grey deep, but if I've got black nearby, I'm just going to get that. So this is just my normal Kuretake set, and there is black there. Alright, I'm going to let that dry. Now I'm going to get saffron yellow. I'm going to go around the edge of the sign. I think I'll do the letters on the sign in the same color. Then let me drop a little bit in the lantern. I'll do one or two of the bunting in yellow. And I think the sign down here. I'm just going to avoid the outer border and the letters. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do with those yet. And I think we'll need a few different colors for the sprinkles inside here, so I'm just randomly dropping in some yellow there. And then I'm going to start working on the bush in this pot plant, and I'm going to start with some yellow throughout, and then I'm going to drop some green in. I'll also just drop the yellow in for the door handle. So that's quite wet. I just want to give it a chance to sink in a little bit. But when I have, I think I will get some ivy green ready on my brush. I'm going to use it in quite a thick consistency just because this is so wet. So I don't need to add more water to the story. But I'm going to wait. It's pooling, as you can see. If I drop the green in now, it's just going to spread everywhere. So I'm just going to wait about 30 seconds until I can see that it is starting to go a little bit drier and not pooling on the surface of the paper. Alright, it's still quite wet, but let's see how we go. I'm going to drop it in from the bottom. And just leave a spot here or there so that the yellow can shine through. Then I just want to make a bit of a shadow color just to drive this contrast of the bush a little bit further. I found the green grey on its own a bit too much for these whimsical pastel paintings. So I'm going to mix the green grey with ivy green. And then do the same thing, start at the bottom and drop it in. Now I think I'm going to work on the cones. So let's build it slowly. I want to give it a three-dimensional look. So I want to do something darker on the outside, lighter on the inside. So I think I'll start with ecru beige just as a base. Put that in. I'm just going to rinse off my brush and help it to blend. I want to keep the surface a little bit wet so that I can drop more colors in. Then I'm going to go to Flax Beige, drop that in down the outside. Sorry about that, there was a power failure which is prone to happen up in the jungles of northern Thailand during rainy season. I had to just keep on going for it because the paint was wet. So I took that Flax Beige and I put it down the sides and underneath the top of each. But I think that we could still have a little bit more contrast here. This is dry, so I'm happy that it's dry because now I'm going to take a darker yellow brown and do the same thing. Put a darker contrast color down the sides and underneath the ice cream. I think I was using my smaller brush. So I'm just going to... am I going to put water down first? Let me not. I'm going to take that yellow brown and then manually blend it so it doesn't blend quite so far. So let me put it down the edges. And then I'll rinse off and tap off my brush so I'm not putting too much water down. And then I'm going to help it to blend. Just drop a little bit more in just to increase that contrast. And blend. Alright, let me go and do the same on the smaller cone. Alright, now I think I'm going to work on the colour in the background of the shop, and to do that I'm going to start with the background colour of saffron yellow. I'll do the window first, of the door, and then I'll come and do the shop window, just so that I've got time to work on both areas. So I'm going to take that saffron yellow, put it down first. I'm going to avoid the open sign. I'm keeping it quite watery so that I can drop in another colour. Then I'm going to take Mars Yellow in a thickish consistency so it doesn't blend quite so far, and I'm going to put it around the edge. I don't think that needs much blending, but let me just rinse and dry off my brush and just help it to get a nice gradual blend. Now I will repeat the same in this window. I'm going to just avoid this sign, the bunting, and all of this over here, but I'll do behind the containers of ice cream there. If I can see it's drying, I just get a bit of watery consistency mix and just drop it in around the areas that I did earlier on, just whilst I continue working to get around all these fiddly little bits. Alright, I'm just doing a quick check. I can see it's drying around the edges here, so I'm just keeping it all alive so that my Mars Yellow will blend when I drop it in. Alright, I think that's wet enough all over. So picking up that Mars Yellow, I'm going to go around the edges. And then let's blend it. And then let me do a base color. I'll use flax beige just on the wood surrounding the blackboard. Then I want to do a base color on the step here. Maybe I'll go Venetian red. I just want it quite watery so that I can shadow the edge in an additional layer. And then I'm going to do shadow around this edge. So I'm going to take yellow brown and what shall I add to it? Maybe I'll add a little bit of blue-grey deep to it. Alright, I'm going to let that all dry. I think I'm going to do an alizarin crimson door. I'm going to leave the white around the edge just to see if I need that contrast of the white later. And maybe around the window as well. Just adding a bit more water to my brush so that I can sweep across the whole bottom area. Whilst that colour is on my brush, I'll just do one of the bunting flags. And maybe that'll be a nice colour for one of the ice creams. Then I think I'm going to do the pot. Because I've got burnt sienna in my other palette here, I'm just going to use it. If I didn't, I'd probably use Mars Yellow or something like that. I'm going to do it quite watery so that I can add to it to get some 3-dimension. So I'm just getting a wet mix of it down. And then I'm going to rinse and dry off my brush quite a lot and try and lift an area down the middle. It's quite wet, so quite reluctant to do that. I'm just going to repeat that a few times just until I get some lifting in the area. Alright, then I'm going to get that burnt sienna in a thicker consistency and drop it around the edge. And also underneath where the plants would cast a shadow on the pot. It's not spreading very much because of the amount that I've lifted, and that's absolutely ideal. I really want to control how far this color goes. So I'll put it down and then rinse and tap off my brush and help it to blend. Just preserving that lighter area. Then I'm just going to do some shadow on the wood of the signboard. This shadow color was already here from where I did the sidewalk. So I'm just going to pick that up. Maybe I need to make it a bit darker. I'll just get some yellow brown with a bit of blue-grey deep. And just do the very short side here. And I'll do the inside of that back leg there, as well as the bottom bit of this strut. Alright, so whilst I'm waiting for things to dry, I'm just going to do 1 or 2 colours on the bunting. That is cobalt turquoise light. And then let's take some lime green. And that looks like a nice colour for some pistachio or mint ice cream. Then I'll take a vermilion. And space for one more. Let's do cobalt blue. Right, then I'm just seeing what else I can do as I'm just carefully working around this. I'll just put some colour on these cones. I'll take grey. Do this container. And the spoons, and I'll do the lid of this jar. I won't do those spoons because that paint is still wet. I can do these ones, these two. And I can do this ledge here. So let's do that. I'll take ecru beige. Alright, let's let that dry. Alright, I think I'm going to do the top ice cream scoop here in coral pink. I'll start it at the bottom and then blend it upwards. Just a spot of colour there, and then I'll rinse off my brush. I'd like to just get a bit of graded colour here, so it's not all the same. And I think I want to use that same colour as a second stripe on the awning. I'm going to do the same thing, skipping a bit of white here and there. If you are enjoying this video and you would like to make a donation to me, you can do so on my Buy Me a Coffee platform. I will put the link in the description box below as well as on the screen now. I'm sure you can appreciate that making tutorials like this along with the traceable sketch reference is an immense amount of work, and I appreciate any and all donations. If you have made a donation, thank you. And then I'm going to use the same colour. I think I want to try and make a Neapolitan flavoured ice cream in here. So I'm going to try and get 3 stripes. So that can be the pink part. Let's also use that colour as the border and the lettering for down here. And I'll do the word today in that colour. Alright, then I'm going to pick up a Venetian red and I'm going to do the shadow of the step. Then I'm going to pick up a yellow brown. I just want to do the chocolate stripe of the Neapolitan. And I'll pick up that pink and do the cups. And ecru beige for the last ice cream that's in here. And let's do that on this ice cream out here, and we'll do a bit of two-tone colour on here. I think I'll pick up flax beige and just put it at the bottom here. And just around the sides. And then I really want a red cherry there. There isn't a red colour in those sets. It's just vermilion, but it's a little bit orange. So I'm just picking up a red from my Kuretake set and doing the cherry on the top. Then I'm going to pick up blue grey deep and do the top of the lantern and the fixture to the wall. And then I'll just give it a few minutes to dry. Alright, I'm just going to start working from the top down again, completing what I haven't yet done. So I'm going to do this ice cream scoop in a green. I'm going to do a light green at the top and then fade it down to a darker green at the bottom. I'll also put that in down here. Alright, so let me pick up ivy green in a thicker consistency, and I'm just going to drop it in at the bottom. Maybe I'll use the light green on the open sign, and maybe also on this sign here. I'll just take that ivy green and do a few dots inside here. Then I'm going to take grey and do the ice cream containers and maybe the border of the refrigerator. I'll also use it as a shadow color because I'm going to leave the edge white. I'm just going to do these two strips down the side that are the inward facing edge. I'll also use the grey for the hook at the side here. Then I'm going to do the edge around this inset. So I'm going to take a alizarin crimson and I want to darken it a bit. So I'm going to take a blue grey deep and just add a bit more alizarin, and I'll put it on these four sides. Then I just want to shadow the top of this sort of foot kickboard there. So I'm going to add some cobalt turquoise light, and let's just see if that's dark enough. And then this board that's here, I want to do the downward facing edge. I'm just going to use this shadow color that I've got here already. And this last scoop at the top, I want to do vanilla. So I'm really just going to water down ecru beige. Start from the bottom and even water it down as I go up. I'm just lifting a bit because it's very watery. And let me take flax beige and just drop some in at the bottom. And a little bit at the sides. And then I'll take just very light grey and do the spoons that I haven't done yet. I think I'll let this dry and probably do one more pass once it's dry. Alright, I want to just add a little bit of a shadow underneath the yellow top just to show that it is a little bit forward. So I'm going to take alizarin crimson in quite a concentrated consistency straight from the pan and just edge the whole thing inside the yellow. Then as far as shadows for everything else is concerned, let's say that the sun is coming from the top right. That means that any shadows on letters, pot plants, etc. are going to be on the left and on the bottom of everything. I'm also going to just use this color on my brush to do some sprinkles. Alright, so left and bottom. I'm going to keep that in mind as I do the letters, and also I'm going to do I'm just going to water this alizarin crimson down ever so slightly. I want to do this thing would be coming out of the sign, so there would be shadow down the left hand side. Alright, so then with the letters, I'm going to do left and bottom. Right, now I want to do the part of the awning that folds over. I'm going to have to do it in two parts because of the two colors. So let's do the blue first. I think I'm going to use, I'll just use this well here, the cobalt turquoise light, but even then I want that a little bit darker. So I'll add a spot of blue-grey deep. Right, and I'm going to do all of the blue sections with that shadow color. If you are enjoying the painting of this ice cream shop, you might be interested to know, if you don't know already, that I have a whole series of both whimsical houses and shop fronts on my YouTube channel. At the end of this video, I'll place a click link that will take you to the playlist for all of the shop fronts that I've done so far that you can have a look at, and then if you want to, you can peruse around the playlists on my channel. And there are also whimsical houses, which you might enjoy. Do you see how the instant that we put this shadow color down, it makes the awning fold downwards? And that's the really cool thing about the shadow adding stage of any sketch. Let's do a bit of a shadow on the blue down here, seeing as how I've got it mixed up in my palette. And I'll do the same thing left and bottom around this sign down here. Alright, I'll let that dry. I just want to use that blue shadow color to do the remaining part of this shadow here. I'll join it to the bottom of the cone. Right, then a shadow for the pink overhang, coral pink, but I want to make it darker, so maybe I will take some alizarin crimson, see if that's enough. Maybe a bit of old Nouveau as well. Alright, let's do that. It's a bit too purple. Just add some alizarin crimson to that. Then let's do the shadows of the furniture out front on the sidewalk. So I've still got this here. I can't even remember what it was. I think I'm just going to add some beige grey and some blue grey deep. Yeah, I think that'll be good. So remember, shadow to the left. And then let's do a few more sprinkles. I'll just use whatever colours I can see. And then I'm just going to take some shadow colour and do the inside of the scoops here. And maybe just the inside of the ice cream containers. I think we're just about there, but one thing I want to do is a cast shadow of the awning over the wall below. So I don't want to make it too fancy. I might just do straight across because it would be the edge of the awning here that would be casting the shadow anyway. And I think actually I'm going to get a ruler to make sure that this is straight. So I think maybe there. I'll do the door in a moment. So I just want to offset the edge of the door and windows with everything else. It'll make it read more true. So that's the edge of the doors and windows. I'm going to then just go up a smidgen. So that means that this first part, I'm just going to rub that out. Alright, so edge of the door, and then the windows are done. Then I'm just going to go up a smidge and do the wall. And I think I'm going to do a very watered down version of this shadow colour that I've already got here. I'll do the white edge of the door and windows in a different colour. I'm just going to do the pink wall with this shadow colour. And I will also do, remember left and below, I'm going to do where the white edge of the door meets the wall. I'm just going to go all the way down the left hand side and also down the left hand side of this window. Alright, I must let that dry before I come into the edge of the window. To do the shadow around the window, I think I'm just going to use whatever this was here. I think it was a mixture with blue-grey deep. So I'm just going to do the white areas that I wanted in shadow. And then I think this cone here is just looking a little bit meh. I'm going to take some raw umber deep and just do some chocolate sprinkles on the top. Then I'm going to take a micron pen size 01 and do some writing on this board. And then I'm going to take a Uniball Signo white gel pen and do some writing on this board here. And I'm just going to do indiscernible writing on here. And then I wanted to do a shadow of the pavement on the street, but I've got nothing here. And I was kind of going to do nothing, leave it nothing. But if I want to do a shadow on it, then there's got to be something there. So I'm just going to use what remains here and kind of do a dry brush effect. I'm going to put it on my brush, tap it off on my towel, and then just swipe it on its side. It's not catching too much texture on the fibers down here because this is hot press paper, so it's quite smooth. But anyway, that's fine. I'm happy with that. And I must just let that dry and then come and do a bit of shadow. That won't take very long at all. So I'm just going to do a shadow on the door here as well, because I didn't do that at the time. Right, then on the street, actually I might work in here, that's too watery. I just want to make a greyish colour. I'll use blue-grey deep. And some beige grey. That's good enough, and I'm just going to go along the whole length and slightly to the left. And let's extend the shadow of the board. Alright, and now I think we probably really are done, right? And there's the final sketch. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please hit the like button and let me know what you think in the comments box below. Until next time, bye for now.